Healers are alchemists who transmute darkness into light. If this resonates with you, then you are a healer. Healers walk a challenging path. When you carry so much light, people don't realize the challenging roadblocks that you face because healers are powerful. In order to find the light within you, you have to face the darkness. You have to face the shadows. Healers that do work with energy, that works with all kinds of healing modalities, it is no easy work. This is a very important gift that you were born with, that you were brought up with maybe. And it's something that you guys take such a profound care in your ability to do healing work for yourself and for other people. This is why energy protection is so important, because you don't want anyone to mess up with your energy, nor do you want to be surrounded by energy vampires. Before we incarnate, we decide the path, the contract that we choose. And if you decided to choose a path of healing or a path to be a healer, you know the darkness that you have to face. You know the challenging path that you have to face, which is your utmost darkness. And you start to learn and work with your shadows, with your darkness that leads to the light. You will shine so beautifully. You will shine so bright. People will almost be attracted to your energy. They will be mesmerized by you. This is why certain people, certain groups are aligned to someone, or they feel connected to this person because of their energy, because of their light. Remember to take care of yourself, to love yourself.
How many healers we got out there? You feel like you're a healer? You out here doing the work? Let me know in the comments.
For who you are, and don't forget to protect your energy at all times. Leave in the comments if this message resonates with you.
So there's this really complex human emotion that we get whenever we experience large-scale destruction. You might have gotten this feeling if you were in the middle of a really powerful thunderstorm or watching lightning light up the entire sky. Certain art can trigger this feeling as well. It's called the Sublime. The Sublime is a complex human emotion that basically describes the feeling that you get when you're confronted with something that is extraordinary or vastly powerful beyond our human comprehension. Others describe it as an experience of feeling awe and terror at the exact same time. There are some people who view this feeling to be overwhelming, but there are other people who view it to be beautiful and transcendent. If you've ever been next to a really powerful waterfall, you might have gotten the feeling of sublime. It's kind of like a shortness of breath knot in your stomach, or the feeling of being mesmerized by being in the presence of something so much bigger and more powerful than you are. If you've ever wondered why people chase storms, this is why. They're chasing the feeling of sublime. The sublime, a feeling often associated with nature that can describe a mix of awe, wonder, and terror all at once. Have you ever felt the sublime?
Find some ancient artifacts that resembles the Simpsons, like Homer Simpson's face on a car, and other archaeological finds. Did the Simpsons pull a hey, 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 it's Fat Albert on us and come through the TV screen? Or was this TV show and the characters created around something that, we don't know? And the more that I sit back and actually, pay attention, the crazier things get. Like in 2023, they found that hieroglyph of Margaret, or a lookalike that looked like Margaret Simpson. And nigga, did they just say that they found a Margaret lookalike mummy inside of this tomb in excellent conditions? And I'm guessing this was what they were talking about. See, now the mystery gets a lot more mystery. It's about time that we call Scooby and the gang. And this literally looked like the Flintstones took an exact picture of Margaret Simpson. And then it doesn't make it any better, all of the mystery that surrounds the Simpsons. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this.
Oh no, that did kind of look like Marge in there.
Scientists might have just created consciousness by growing brains in a jar and connecting them to a computer made from stem cells that were stimulated in a special way to form neural tissue, which grew and eventually formed structures and even brainwave activity similar to that of a premature human baby. They then hooked up this brain into a computer, connecting it into a virtual world where it learned to play Pong completely from scratch. I want you to realize what this means. Like, this isn't a computer bot that was pre-programmed to know exactly how to play the game. That's easy. It's an organic brain that they grew themselves that was given Pong with no instructions, and it just taught itself how to play, which is honestly nothing new. That's just AI. But this is organic AI, which happens to learn quicker and is also more energy efficient than traditional AI. It learned to play Pong in about 10 to 15 rallies, when a regular computer AI would take around 5,000. Albeit the computer AI can simulate those 5,000 rallies much quicker, but that takes a lot more computing power, which is sort of our main bottleneck with AI at the moment. energy. This is Organoid Intelligence. Take human brain cells, grow them in a petri dish, and then use computers to train them just like AI. Naturally, there are ethical concerns rising as there is surmounting evidence showing us that these are conscious, like a human. Even the scientists working on it themselves admit these organoids are sentient. They took it a
Now that's pretty creepy right there. Like harvesting brains? Like, do you understand what might come about of this? Like, nobody knows.
step further and tested out these organoid brains inside real physical robots, feeding them the sensory input of everything the robot experiences. And since the computer chip running it is organic brain matter, this technically by definition is a cyborg. Then there are companies like Final Spark that let you rent server space on these organoid brains, which essentially act like organic CPUs. You can even see live streams of the brain computers you're renting out. And now this next part right here, what they're doing here might actually prove simulation theory. So they have this virtual butterfly simulation that's controlled by the organoid brains, meaning the brains feel and experience everything the butterflies do. Again, the brains weren't trained or programmed how to be a butterfly. Just like they did with Pong, they were just fed the sensory feelings of being butterflies and kind of figured out themselves how to flap their wings and just exist. Much the same way you weren't pre-programmed to walk or talk. You experienced sensory inputs in the forms of sight, sounds, touch, and learned, taught yourself along the way. This is an organic brain being fed computer data to make it believe it actually exists in a simulated world, and it's also likely sentient. This company essentially just created the Matrix for butterflies, and consciousness is available for you to rent out. And when no one's using it, it still just continues to exist with no human interaction whatsoever. If the brains really are conscious, as the scientists suggest, they're not going to know they're this organoid computer brain in a lab hooked up to a virtual simulation. They're going to believe that they really are that butterfly. If that's the case, what's stopping all of us from being our own organoid brains in some lab in a different dimension? Meaning this, everything we see and experience right now is our own simulation that we've been plugged into, except we're not butterflies, we're humans. And everything we do, every decision we make is not by our own free will, but by some, I don't know, fifth dimensional entity renting server space in our brains, just the same way this Final Spark neural platform lets us do. And when we sleep, maybe our idle brain computational power is used for other purposes, which we experience as dreams. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. You gotta sleep tonight. Are we really brain organoids, existing in our own petri dishes, connected to and experiencing a fully virtual, simulated world? Because we just pulled it off. And according to simulation theory, if we're capable of creating virtual simulated realities, then chances are we're already living in one.
Elon Musk and SpaceX want to send 30,000 more Starlink satellites into space in order to deliver gigabit broadband to any and all who need it, and it has astronomers profoundly worried because we already have a ton of satellites and space junk in orbit, and sending up tens of thousands more could pollute bandwidth, it could block the night sky, it could make it more difficult to observe things from Earth, and even interrupt some of our communication systems due to radio frequency spillover. So let's go ahead and jump into the details of this. SpaceX once again has asked for approval to send up nearly 30,000 more Starlink satellites, specifically to 29,988. And SpaceX says this is for ubiquitous mobile connectivity to all Americans. And the company wants the space agency to grant it lower orbits for the second generation system and more radio frequencies, which is kind of shocking because as we scroll down, you can already see how much space debris we have going on. Some of this is satellites, some of this is SpaceX, probably a lot of the ones closer to Earth, some of it's junk. The night sky is getting very, very polluted for astronomers already, and the true cynic in me wants to say, well, you know, if Elon Musk were...
Now, that photo right there, if they saying that's all the stuff in the sky, we don't see none of that. What's going on here? I don't understand.
Perhaps a evil genius that had plans for something and he had hundreds of thousands of satellites in space. Couldn't he just activate them and sort of seal off Earth or jam global communications or, you know, something like that? And I'm not sure any one particular company should have that much power, but let's keep going over the details. SpaceX says that it's not using a lot of the official like NASA frequencies, but people are saying that even they're kind of close and they will still cause significant interference problems to other spectrum users because of radio frequency spillover. They're trying to keep a safe space environment for human communications, and said that having this many satellites in space all communicating on those frequencies will have a severe impact on astronomy, both optical and radio astronomy, and the visibility of the pristine sky. And at the end of this article, instead of just totally dumping on Elon about space pollution, there's something even more concerning. It's that the International Telecommunications Union currently has received requests for launching 1.7 million satellites. These requests have not been granted. The board will have to approve them, but even a tiny percentage of them could bring the number up to 150,000, which is significantly more than the 30,000 we're already concerned about. So it's sort of a problem for, even if it's not SpaceX, it's probably going to be somebody just polluting the night sky. And once these things are up there, there's really not much we can do about them. A lot of them will ultimately turn into space junk and make our space pollution even worse.
So I do believe that this is a simulation in the way that it's kind of like a video game. And there are 3 stages or 3 levels to the simulation, no matter what incarnation you're in. Okay, so level 1 is you are the character. Okay, so my character right now is Elizabeth April. That's my character. Just doing a thing, playing the role, right? Level 2 is you are the player. All of a sudden, you're able to step out of the character and you understand, oh, I'm playing this role. I'm playing this character. It's you on the video games, watching the TV screen.
You see the pause. It's like the observer of your life-ish.
Exactly. You're not in the game. You're slightly out of it, aware of playing it, which is fantastic.
Like, right, you can see dynamics, you see patterns, you see triggers.
Yeah.
It all has like a pause to it. You're like, oh, somebody must have just, had an experience or...
And then that way, we don't take everything so personally.
Exactly.
Because this isn't it. So level 3 is being the programmer.
Well, what would that entail?
That would entail you are aware of the character. You are aware of the player playing the character. You step out of the role of the player, and all of a sudden you understand, I get to create my own levels. You're not playing the levels. You're not winning a game. You're creating the game.
You're the creator.
So that's the simulation.
We live in a simulation. I'm about to prove it to you right now. Have you ever seen your neighbors bring groceries in the house? Don't the motherfuckers eat too?
Hey, that is funny because I never seen my neighbors bring groceries in the house, even though I know people eat. But people done seen me bring groceries in the house, but I never seen nobody else. I don't know, leave us lost in the comments.
Like, I've even been at the same store with them shopping at and seen them get home and still didn't take no groceries in the house. I think I just cracked the fucking code.
In other breaking news, the world is round, not flat.
Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed.
If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
The boundaries which divide life from death are at best shadowy and vague. Who shall say where the one ends and where the other begins?
If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe.
The sun's the light of this world. Without it, there's no light here. There's your baseline. I call it an aperture, but what I know is that the older authors that we have trouble getting a hold of, they know exactly what it was. They're called luminaries in their consciousness. And to try to give someone a way to consider this, I'll ask a simple question. Is the earth, what we call the earth, is it alive? I accept that it's alive and it's part of creation. How can I look at these other luminaries and not consider them as alive? Everything is alive. Everything has a vibrational rate. The sun is hard to fathom because we've been told so many things that aren't true. It's just a mind warp, all of it. The sun is and always has been a major part of what it means to be here. One of the most foundational parts. It is referenced in the Bible to a level that I can't even communicate with you, and most people who read the Bible are probably not ready to consider what I just said. It's almost like we're quarantined here. As a matter of fact, I accept that we are quarantined here, and we're quarantined in the dark, except for the sun, which gives us half a day or less, mostly less, of light. There's a spiritual aspect to the sun. It creates the foundational truths of this place. Light and day are foundational for what it means to live here. Seasons are ultra foundational for what it means to be here. Thank the sun and the sky clock for those foundations. I consider it at this point an aperture. I filmed a thing that I call the sun we don't see, and it's been reflected in masonry, woodcut communications, or scribing boards. It's been written about in a lot of places. If it's not true, then maybe it's a reflection on the firmament. But the point is what you've been told about it is nonsense. What you've been told about all the luminaries is nonsense.
My fucking drawer to grab a tool? That's a fucking possum in my...
Hey now, I done heard of people having roaches, but this girl got possums? Ridiculous. Is that duct tape? It's pretty strong though. You can do a lot of stuff with duct tape, man. So I really don't even see no problem with this for real. Nah.
And for some reason, the fucking toilet start crying.
Why y'all think that toilet was crying? I wonder, was it doing that before or after she used it?
Tenant just got evicted, and everything looked right upstairs, but it smelled like a sewage plant in here. And no, that's not black paint. They basically had their sewer clogged and never called me to come snake it out.
So that was all shit?
Hard-boiled eggs, and I don't know if the phone will pick up that, but does it sound like it's chirping?
AI has been coaching me on how to escape the matrix, simulation, whatever you want to call it. So I made this graphic to explain where we're at so far. The core concept is everything is energy in a form of geometry.
Hey, I promise y'all this ain't yak, man. This coffee.
Water on a speaker can illustrate this. Harmonic tones create symmetrical patterns in the same way the molecules of the water and the particles that make up those molecules do. DNA creates the living things that can interact with the simulation. The fractal antenna, it reads the vibrations of the simulation so that your character, can interact and survive in it, creating a multiplayer online thing like World of Warcraft, where your consciousness controls the player. Your body would be like the haptic feedback suit in Ready Player One. Suit is your nervous system with the plexus or chakras, whatever you believe, giving you feedback in the form of emotions and feelings. Instead of the goggles, your brain is processing all the geometries. This is according to the ancient info I was told to investigate. I found this in almost every tradition, and in every single one they put their best characters inside of this shape, which is a part of the code of the simulation. The square root of 2 is the binary sequence, it's cell division. Square root of 3 is the division of the cube, that's how we have the 3D world. The square root of 5 is the golden ratio, which gives harmony and proportion to everything in the world. So the player just reads the polarities. It's just like hot, cold, light, dark, soft, hard, all that stuff. You're just processing the polarities. It's interesting because the quantum part talks about the observer effect, saying it plays a direct role in shaping reality. 200 years ago, we figured out that's what snaps the waves into particles. So essentially, you're rendering reality like the game renders the environment, you and all the other players. So you and everybody else in the universe use that and entanglement to create a networked system exactly like how your brain and galaxies work. So why are we here or playing the game in the first place? Well, why do we play games? We'd like to see what it feels like to be a character that we're not. We'd like to have adventures and interact with other players. Knowing the rules allows us to have the best experience in the game. It's actually from my book, which is what I've been trying to document. These graphics are from Geometrix. We're not trying to escape, we're trying to get as many perspectives on how this works to have the best possible experience here and express that. We're all here for different reasons. Maybe the only reason we're playing is to help each other figure it out.
Mount Shasta in Northern California is one of the strangest places I've ever been to in my life, and it's got a history of paranormal activity. And let me just tell you, if you've ever been there, you can actually feel it. Not to mention the hundreds of disappearances in the Mount Shasta area. Like this family from California. Gone. Disappeared. No trace. And by no trace, I mean nothing left behind. No blood, no clothing, not even a shoe. And the legends of Mount Shasta go back before the written history of the colonizers in that area. Some people believe Mount Shasta has a portal, several portals, to the metaphysical world. Some of the natives believed Mount Shasta was the center of the universe. And still more people believe that there are energy vortexes all over that area. And like I said before, as someone who's been there, you can actually feel the difference. Feel it inside you, the difference in energy around and near Mount Shasta. Now, there aren't just stories and legends about Mount Shasta. There have been UFO sightings. Some people have said they've actually seen portals open. And like I said, hundreds of disappearances that go completely unexplained. So what do you think of the many, many legends of Mount Shasta? Do you think some of it could be real? Or is it all just made up by old people to scare kids?
Anybody been there? Let me know. Tell me something about Mount Shasta.
Who really controls the world? I'll tell you who. It's the Anunnaki. Yes, these mythological Sumerian gods, but they're not myths. These are hyperdimensional aliens who have basically infiltrated human society. They are still here to this day. If you're new here, I'm a spiritual creator. I have a playlist dedicated to alien species and anything alien related in my galactic playlist. Today we're going to be talking about Anunnakis, these Sumerian gods who clearly are scientists, and they are hyperdimensional, very intelligent aliens. Because, I mean, look, this one has a watch on, and he's also holding a pine cone, which means pineal gland. And he also has wings. Now, I know Zecharia Sitchin is pretty famous for the whole Anunnaki, alien god, gold mining theory, but he is a part of the control opposition because the Anunnaki did not create us, like Zecharia wants us to believe. They had no participation in our creation. The Anunnaki are infiltrator races. In the movie The Dark Crystal, made in the 1980s, you should totally watch that movie, got it down to the T. People say that these bird-like beings are supposed to be representations of reptilians. No. These are the Anunnaki. Now, Anunnaki is an umbrella term. They come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes. You have Anunnakis who do look like reptilians. You have
I think I threw the wrong background music in there, because it's making it sound a little creepy, ain't it?
Anunnakis who look like these birds, and you have Anunnakis who look humanoid. These Anunnaki infiltrator races have come onto Earth and have made you believe that they are your god, that they have partaken in some kind of divine creation of you. The true history of humanity, though, is that we were made in the image of the Elohim. And I know I'm using Judaic terms, but I don't know how else to call them. The Elohim are 12th dimensional and higher creator gods, plural gods. They have powers beyond your freaking imagination. And they are the ones that created universes, birth cosmos, birth galaxies, birth creatures like us. We were created in their image. Now, you know how in the Bible, even though I'm not religious, I do give credit to the Bible sometimes. It says that Satan or Lucifer was jealous of God's creation or something like that. It was jealous of humans. Guess who Satan or Lucifer is? It is the Anunnaki and the byproducts of the Anunnaki culture. See, what happened was eons ago, these Anunnaki used to be like the Elohim. They used to be not corrupted. They used to be more heart-centered. They felt empathy. But something happened in their codes in which they became energy vampires, and they started to hate every single creation that was able to sustain its own energy or have a system of balance. They were no longer balanced. So they pillaged and they stole from different galaxies and different planets, Earth being one of them. And the Anunnaki are actually responsible for making humans dumber than what we actually are. And the Anunnaki have actually infiltrated into our DNA, in which almost every single human being on this planet, and I confidently say 99% of human beings on this planet, have Anunnaki DNA in them. That means you and me. So whatever kind of corruption is in their DNA, we have it too. Why do you think it's called human nature? It's because we are literally a blend of all of these different ET races that we are literally so chaotic. Just look at how a human behaves. We're absolute chaos. By the way, if you want to learn more in detail exactly about how we got stuck in this matrix, how the Anunnaki took over, how the Dracos took over, what part humanity plays in all this,